mind, about to bring it to you. Yeah. You know revolution. Check it.
Out and cried, Philando complied. Korean fought like a soldier, yet all of them died. My fist raised in defiance in front of their eyes. For this day, I will not fall for none of their lies. I see in them no concern for none of our lives, which made my position pivotal, cause the current condition is critical, even from my own. But these whiplots and ruckuses on our team I can't condone. I'm a rebel with a cause that mere mortals won't handle. Freedom's unseen, but the hope I hold is substantial. Dictating the work of our people, your place of limit. My freedom was in the mimic, your freedom it wasn't given. So spare me that all men created equal, you're delivering. Cause even my constituents are privy to the difference. Within every sentence, revolution's heavily driven.
Hey everyone, welcome back and thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Balance. I hope you enjoyed Jamal Steele's song Spark the Revolution. I know I did. So we're going to go ahead and jump into today's show. So we're going to start this episode off a little bit different this time, and we're going to talk about everybody's favorite thing, dogs. So everybody loves dogs, right? So I wanted to look and see what were the most popular dog breeds of the last year. And so I found two lists. One is from CBS News and the other one, I can't remember the site, but they had a different variation of dogs a little bit. So I wanted to mention both. So when you're looking at CBS News, the number one dog, of course, was the Labrador Retriever. Number two was the German Shepherd. Number three was the Golden Retriever. Number four, the French Bulldog. 5, Bulldog. 6, Beagle. 7, Poodle. 8, Rottweiler. 9, the Yorkshire Terrier. And 10, the German short-haired pointer. So just curious, do any of y'all have those dogs? I have a Pomeranian. He's my little baby. And sadly, he didn't make the list, but he's still bad. Love him. He's it. So the other list, it had for number 1, Border Collie. Number 2, Golden Retriever. Number 3, Doberman Pinscher. And then midway through the list was the number 4, Shetland Sheepdog. Number 5, the Papillon or Papillon dog. Not sure how to pronounce it. And number 6 was a Labrador Retriever. Number 7 was a Bulldog. 8, German Shepherd. 9, Poodle. And 10, Beagle. So you see some kind of similarities with both of the lists. So yeah, and again, Pomeranian wasn't on it. So anyway, just to tell you a little bit more about today's show, we are going to have a brief interview with someone by the name of OK Inya, and he's going to talk about imposter syndrome. We're going to talk about celebrity news. We're also going to take a look at the voting records of 5 key issues for Booker, Harris, and Warren, because as you know, they're the Democratic candidates for the 2020 presidency. And then we're also going to give you a few throwback songs, as always. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So the first issue we're going to talk about is abortion. And so Cory Booker, he voted against Rand Paul's amendment that would prohibit federal funds going to places that promote or perform abortion. He also co-sponsored S2578, or the Protect Women's Health from Corporate Interference Act. So Kamala Harris, she also voted against Rand Paul's amendment. And then Elizabeth Warren, she also voted against H.R. 36, which is essentially an anti-abortion bill. So there's a little bit about where they stand on that issue. When it comes to Big Pharma, so Cory Booker, so Senator Bernie Sanders and a senator from Minnesota crafted a budget resolution designed to rein in medication prices by allowing cheaper identical versions of prescription drugs to be imported from other countries like Canada, where medicines are cheaper. So Booker voted against it. And so it's important to know that New Jersey is one of the places where pharmacy and the drug industry is concentrated. So thinking about Kamala Harris, so she supported the similar measure that Bernie and the Minnesota senator proposed. And she's from Delaware, which is also where the drug industry is concentrated, but she still voted against Big Pharma. So Elizabeth Warren, something about her is that towards the end of the Obama administration, she opposed a largely popular Massachusetts bill, which is like her home place, because she believed it was basically a Big Pharma handout by Republicans. So that's where our candidates stand on those issues. And so also there's climate change in the environment. And I didn't have much time to look into it too much, but for what I did gather, all the candidates that I'm discussing in this episode, Booker, Harris, and Warren, they all voted in favor of measures to protect the environment. And so then kind of moving on to criminal justice measures. So starting with Cory Booker, because, alphabetical order. Booker voted in favor of the First Step Act 2018. And a few things about the act is that it prohibits the placement of restraints on a prisoner in the custody of the Bureau of Prisons or in the custody of the United States Marshal Services, beginning on the date of which the pregnancy is confirmed by a healthcare professional and ending at the conclusion of postpartum recovery. It also authorizes judges leniency in sentencing mandatory minimums for non-violent drug offenders. So Kamala Harris, who's also been getting a lot of flack about her, rightfully so, top cop, prosecutor history in California, she also voted in favor of this Criminal Justice Reform Act. And so I thought it was kind of important to mention that, just to give a little bit more of a rounded view and maybe how she's progressed in different ways. And also Warren also voted in favor of it. So that just kind of gives you a feel a little bit about how the candidates measure up in terms of criminal justice. And then turning lastly to the last issue of today's episode, immigration. So Booker, he voted against the Stop Sanctuary Policies and Protect Americans Act, and he has a relatively solid record on immigration from what I can gather from a brief review. Same thing for Kamala Harris. And to mention Warren, she voted in favor of the Border Security, Economic Opportunity, and Immigration Modernization Act, which seemed to offer provisional benefits to immigrants. And she also voted against the Stop Sanctuary Policies and Protect Americans Act. So she also has a solid record on immigration from what I could glean. So I'm going to try and do this either every episode or every other episode and just kind of explore various issues that might matter to everyone and discuss the candidates. Like next week, we'll talk about Bernie Sanders more, and we'll talk about Gillibrand more, and just everyone who's come forth. We might compare them all in an episode, but I think it's very important to look at the issues, one by one, and to make sure that everybody's getting the right facts so that you can vote with the educated mind, so that you can vote free from Russian influence or incorrect Twitter assumptions, things like that. So yeah, we'll be doing this more often, and especially as we get closer to primaries and the actual election. So we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back with our interview. Hey everybody, welcome back. We are joined this week by a guest, Okay. And as promised, we're going to discuss imposter syndrome. So thank you for coming to the show. And could you just tell my listeners a little bit more about who you are, your academic background, and what you do?
Hey, yes, Kristen, thank you for having me. So, my name is Okay Enya. My background is in medicine, public health, health policy, politics, teaching and research. I'm a former House and Senate staffer on Capitol Hill, and now I work at the Department of Health and Human Services. And so I'm also a doctoral student in public health at GW. So I also just wrote a book that is out now. You can find it on Amazon and Kindle. It's titled Indisputable, The Story of a Favorite Son. So that's my background, and I'm happy to jump into the topic.
Yes, so go ahead and tell our listeners, what exactly is imposter syndrome?
Yeah, so I have actually experienced this personally. In fact, most recently during my first semester in my doctoral program. And so to provide some context, imposter syndrome or phenomenon, it was first coined in the 1970s, and it was considered a trend among women who were advancing professionally, and this according to the American Psychological Association. In spite of one's accomplishments and credentials, we all at some point, kind of experience doubts and kind of feeling whether we belong in certain spaces. And so, for example, some language that that's kind of out there that can kind of best describe it is that I don't belong here. I'm not good enough. I got lucky. I didn't. I hope that I realize that I'm not smart. So it's just kind of this kind of self-doubt of your credibility or accomplishments, and it tends to manifest women and people of color because we. Especially if we are navigating in majority spaces where we tend to be one of a few in a room, we're more likely to feel like, or wonder how and why we got here and whether, our voice matters. So it's just kind of trying to work through those feelings. Fortunately, there have been, there are ways in which people can really work through it and, and become more comfortable and confident in what they bring to any space and table. So if I were to frame it in like a hashtag, it would be hashtag learning while Black.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of a little bit of background on it, and I'm happy to kind of talk about ways in which one can walk through it and how I've been able to kind of walk through it as well, if that's helpful.
Yeah, most definitely. So could you go ahead and just kind of offer advice for how to cope or overcome imposter syndrome?
Yeah, so the first part of it is actually just getting to a place where you recognize what it is, and so just kind of putting language to it, or just trying to find a term for it, because for the longest I didn't know that there was an actual term for kind of what I was feeling and experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
Until I kind of read up on it, and just kind of based on my own research. And so what's very helpful is to be very intentional about creating and building a strong network of colleagues and friends who can help to kind of build up healthy coping skills, when it comes to navigating different spaces. And so it's definitely helpful to have mentors, to have therapists, someone or some group that creates a safe space for you to articulate your fears, doubts, and concerns. And so it's helpful to have that kind of space to really, kind of check you to say, okay, well, it's not just me, but it's an actual thing that we all at some point experience, but there are ways in which we can kind of get better at, kind of dealing with it. And so for me personally, I have kind of a list of daily affirmations that I use,
Mm-hmm.
that help me to really kind of center my identity and, kind of how I've gotten to this point as a conscious Black male.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I think definitely what will help, is to be intentional about creating that community
Mm-hmm.
of trusted individuals who can really birth for you and can encourage you, can give you some advice and insights. And so that comes by way of like a support group or mentors or friends or therapists. Those are ways in which I found have been helpful. And then just, um, kind of giving yourself space or the right to make mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
and and to also just, be able to assess your strengths and weaknesses in a healthy way,
Mm-hmm.
which comes with being intentional about creating that community of support that can help you grow and can help you kind of uh, kind of cultivate the healthy coping mechanisms that one would need in order to navigate these spaces well. So I think, part of it too, and it's a process of becoming confident in who and whose you are,
Mm-hmm.
and, and not losing your authentic self. And so part of it is coming to any space with your authentic self, which takes courage. It takes a strong support system, and just, being mindful of the value and worth that you bring to any space and place.
Absolutely. And then just kind of piggybacking off what you said, and it'll be the last question. So you mentioned that you use some kind of affirmations to help you out. So what are some of the affirmations that you use?
Yeah. So I use, and I'll quote. So I am a valued voice.
Mm-hmm.
I know who and whose I am. I bring worth to any conversation. I know what I can contribute to this space.
Mm-hmm.
I am comfortable and confident in whose I am. My voice matters.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not here by accident. I belong here. So those are just a few. I have a whole list, but those are just a few that I've curated over the past several years that have helped me to really kind of remind me of my value and worth, and it's been very helpful, in terms of growing into the person that I am today. And I'm happy to share, in fact, in my book, I have all of that content there. I go into a lot of nuanced, great detail about my own process and journey. And so if anyone is interested, I'd love to have your support with my book, and I hope that it'll be very helpful.
Absolutely. And I'd like to thank you so much for interviewing and just taking the time out to speak to the listeners on the show. And everybody, as mentioned, his book is available on Amazon, so make sure that you check it out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey everybody, we're back. So I wanted to save celebrity news kind of for the later bit of this episode for this week. And so we're going to start off with talking about Jussie Smollett. And so I think everything that has to be said has been said. If you don't know, which I'm not sure why, Jussie Smollett was attacked by Trump supporters. And they hung a noose around his neck and they beat him and fractured ribs and all these different things. And so he was attacked because he was black, and he was attacked because he is gay. Again, intersectionality is key. These are simultaneous existing identities that he lives with and breathes with the moment he wakes up to the time he goes to bed. Just like me as a black woman, I wake up every morning and I have to deal with the axis of being both black and a woman in America. And so again, it's just very important to keep this in mind and to not try to label it one thing or the other. Also, I want to say that y'all are whack. Like, y'all are some weirdos who are trying to question the authenticity of what happened and trying to cast doubt on the situation. Like, it's just so crazy to me, the things that y'all would jump for. Like with Chris Brown, when he was accused of rape, how y'all went so hard for him and caping for him and acting like he was the next Nelson Mandela, and that they were trying to come for black men. But when it comes to Jussie Smollett, y'all want to just doubt all of the things that you read from the police, or even the whole thing. I get doubting from the police, don't get me wrong on that part, but you want to doubt what happened to Jussie. Like, you just want to act like it didn't happen. It's mind-boggling to me. Get it together, loves. Get it together. Y'all weirdos. I also want to discuss 21 Savage. So he was detained by ICE yesterday, and apparently he is from the UK. It all seems very sketchy to me, but as people illustrated on Twitter, it's very important to realize that where someone was born and where they're from, which is where they identify with, where they grew up and became the person they are today, can be two different things. So it's important to keep that in mind. I hope that 21 Savage is okay, because it's important to remember all the things that have been happening to ICE detainees in the last months, in the last year, and all these jokes on Twitter, which kill me because y'all want to be so woke other times. But then, I get black people have a history of making jokes in tough times, and a lot of people also would just want to chase clout. But either way, this is nothing to play with. ICE is nothing to play with. Being detained, deportation, none of that's a joking issue. And then it kills me because there is a righteous hypocrisy at work, because y'all want to make these jokes, but then when Demi Lovato laughs and pointedly says, hey, it's the memes I'm laughing at, that's the best part of the night. I mean, how can you be mad? If you're making the jokes and you're laughing, why are you mad at her doing the same thing? And then to come at someone who just, is healing and recovering from, issues that led her to do and abuse substances that almost led to her death, that's wrong and that's foul. Again, who raised y'all? I mean, that's the main question that I have, that you can go out and come at people like that and attack them in those types of ways. It's just foul. So Demi deactivated her Twitter because of that, which is good, because social media can be toxic. And I recommend for everyone to take a leave of absence sometimes from Twitter, just for the sake of your mental health, because it's trash sometimes. It can be very powerful, but it can also be the devil at the same time. And so speaking of, a lot of people do not watch soap operas, or some they did when they were children with their mom or their grandparents, but either way, I still do, and I'm getting emotional talking about it. But the news broke this morning that Young and the Restless star Christophe St. John has passed away at the age of 52. And Christophe St. John, he played Neil Winters on Young and the Restless since 1991. So before I was even born, he's been on there. And he played a smart, educated black man back in the 90s, crux of, the crime bill and incarceration. But here was a show that showed you a black man with the MBA from Stanford, and he was just placed in such a positive light. The whole family was, he had a sister-in-law who was a doctor. So just, I love that. And I just give credit to the late Bill Bell for doing that on Young and the Restless. But yeah, so he set a standard of integrity and he played the role so well. But later in the last couple of years of his life, he's been going through it because he lost his son. And his son suffered from mental health issues, and he placed him in a facility thinking that they would help him. And the facility, they were neglectful, and his son he committed suicide. And so Christoph has had a hard time dealing with that, and it's been very rough. He was suicidal himself back in 2017, and he had to take time away from the show and check himself in. And according to recent reports from TMZ, he checked himself in last month for treatment and was just released a few days ago. So, and again, he was 52, so young, and it's so sad. And he fought, he tried, and it's just like people don't understand the demons or the pain that people can deal with, and it's so hard. And my heart goes out to him, and I don't know much about the afterlife. I have my beliefs and I have my ideas, but I really hope that in the end he is at peace and he's not fighting these battles anymore. And I do hope that he is reunited with his son and that he's okay now. So, not to end the show on such a negative Nancy note. So we're going to go ahead and talk about, some throwback songs just so you can get your vibe on today. So Shaka Khan's Sweet Thing, that's the first one. Or should I say Sweet Thing? I don't know why I said thing. Being too proper. Escape, Who Can I Run To? That's your 90s flavor. And then early 2000s throwback is Beyonce's Work It Out from the Austin Powers soundtrack. I want y'all to give Work It Out its things. The video, I can't hula hoop, but I tried my whole life to learn how to hula hoop just because Beyonce did the video. And the Virgo pants, the Virgo jeans she had on with the low cuts. Listen, I really wanted some low cut jeans with Libra on the back. The looks, the sound, everything. Give it its things. Give it its roses. So anyway, thank you so much for tuning in this episode. I just ask that you help me spread the word, retweet, tell your friends, send them a link in a text message. It's available on SoundCloud, on Google Play, and iTunes, as you know. And just help me get the word out. Make sure you tell your friends to follow me on Twitter at @the_balance_pod, and make sure that they are subscribing to my stuff, whether it's on iTunes or Google Play or however. Please just help me keep doing what I'm doing. And before we sign off today, I want to say thank you to Jamal Steele for letting me hear and share his music with you on the show. I want to thank our guest, OK Inya, for speaking and interviewing with me about imposter syndrome. And be sure to check out his book on Amazon. And just in case you didn't catch it earlier, the name of the book is Indisputed Truth, the Story of a Favorite Son. And yeah, thank you so much for listening. I'm out. God bless.